Let's talk about 90s TV. When I look at my favorite 90s shows, I have to divide them into two camps. One is shows I watched when I was in elementary school. Those favorite shows were Full House and Rescue 911. And then we have the junior high shows. Those favorites would be Unsolved Mysteries and Promised Land. And guess what? This just yesterday, I found out after being off the air for nearly 20 years, 1999, it filmed its last episode. Promised Land, all 3 seasons, all 70 episodes, something like that, give or take, couples, about 70. But Promised Land is now on DVD. Yes, you can now own it on DVD. And the neat thing here is, that was the last show that from my childhood, really. Well, except Bill Nye the Science Guy. And maybe someday Disney will stop being greedy and release all the episodes of that. But Promised Land was the show that I watched as a kid. It debuted in 1996 when I was 10 years old, and it went off the air, unfortunately, and rather prematurely and unjustly in 1999. Had 3 short seasons on the air. When I was 13, it went off the air. This show, of course, was a quote-unquote spin-off of Touched by an Angel. It even says so on the box. And let me tell you something. This was the show that growing up, this wasn't just one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. It was a favorite show in my whole family. Okay, every Tuesday, or the last 2 seasons was Thursday night, but one of those, any night it was on. Okay, my mom, dad, and me would sit down in the living room, okay, and watch this great, outstanding television masterpiece. And let me tell you something. My dad, and even to this day, my dad is, when it comes to television, he is a pain in the romp. He is a critic with a capital C. But he loved Promised Land. And the reason why is because this is one of the few shows on television during that time, and even today, 20 years later, it's one of the few shows that it has a strong male lead. Okay, how many shows out there they portray the man of the house as kind of a doo-doo-doo, or just a dodo bird, like what you have Simpsons, Home Improvement, American Dad, all those things. But this one he really liked, and we would even watch, him and I would just watch the show when it was in reruns on PAX back in the mid 2000s, and then I watched it after that. It was on Gospel Music Channel. Then it turned to Up Network for a few years, and to kind of fill in the cracks, I would look on YouTube to find episodes. But now, guess what? It's all here. Yes. And this case is really cool. It's got the whole cast. On the back, it tells you all about the Touched by an Angel crossover episodes that they did, which is pretty cool. Of course, you open this baby up, and it's really tight. It clicks. It's got the whole, like, if you have any problems, call them. But then you look, and you got this cool little cove for where you put the DVDs. Of course, the first one I have in the DVD player ready to go as soon as I'm done talking with this YouTube video. But of course, then you have, you kind of turn them, and and then of course you got season 2, a little different color scheme, season 3, right? And the neat thing about these is, of course, you don't have to hunt around on YouTube anymore for episodes. And the episodes that are on YouTube right now currently, most of them are the syndicated episodes. In other words, they're they have scenes that have been cut from more commercial time. All the episodes in this DVD set are all the original CBS uncut versions. Okay. How do I know this? Because when I watched the show when it was in reruns on PAX several years ago, all the episode run times would be about 42 to 44 minutes. Okay. But then, growing up, I realized that the episodes were a lot longer when they aired on CBS, just from judging how long the commercial breaks are. And I even went through, I got this maybe like a couple hours ago. I went through every DVD and I looked at the run times. And these are definitely the original uncut episodes. There's nothing syndicated about this boxed set, which is nice. In season 1, your run times are going to be right around 46 to 47 minutes. There's a couple episodes that are like 47 minutes and 30 seconds, and there's going to be a couple episodes that are down around 45 minutes. But generally in the 46 to 47 range is season 1. Season 2 and season 3, there's not a whole lot of change with the run times, which I'm pretty surprised about. Surprised and pleasantly surprised, I should say. The run times are about 45 to 46 minutes. There are going to be maybe a handful of episodes that are about 44 minutes and 30 seconds. Those are the shortest episodes of the series. And then there are going to be a couple that are up over 46 minutes. But generally, the last 2 seasons are right around 45 minutes or so of run time. Okay. And also note that the ending credits are when the show was originally aired on CBS. Of course, this was back when the TV networks were starting to well, let me go back even further. Back in the early 90s, you always had, when a TV show was running the credits, you had credits on the whole screen, and you usually had a music bed playing along with, sometimes different stills of scenes that happened in that particular episode. Well, right around 94, 95, that was when all the big networks said, you know what, let's run, instead of wasting time using a whole screen to run credits, let's run credits to half the screen, and the other half of the screen we'll put a promo of different TV shows in order to increase commercial time a little bit. So what you have on the ending credits in all these episodes of Promised Land is you have what was done on the Gospel Music Channel cuts of Promised Land, which is really nice what they did here. And GMC, I have to give them credit too. They went back to the early 90s and said, let's do credits down the whole screen, and let's have a little instrumental version of the theme song and all the different scenery. The first 2 seasons, of course, is usually Utah and the mountains. The first half of the 3rd season is Mississippi, and then the second half of the 3rd season is Denver, because that's where the show took place. So honestly, so what exactly is this show, Promised Land? I've talked for nearly 10 minutes about everything but the show, what it is. It is a family drama, okay? It is from the same producer, Martha Williamson, who did Touched by an Angel. Except I like Promised Land better than Touched by an Angel because this is an actual family, okay? You got, of course, you can't really see it here, but of course you got the dad, played by Gerald McCraney, the mom, Wendy Phillips. You have the oldest teenage son, who I believe is about 15, 16 when the show starts. Dinah. played by Sarah Schwab, who's about 12 or 13 when the show starts. So Nathaniel, played by Eddie Carr, who's about 8 when the show starts. And then you have old grandma, played by Celeste Holm, who is probably at 80, 75 or 80 when the show starts. And what's neat about these characters, of course, Gerald McCraney has been in a lot of things, but a lot of the other actors really are not that famous. Of course, Celeste Holm did a lot of work with the theater. She's been deceased now for a few years. But Wendy Phillips has been in a lot of lesser known TV movies and that sort of thing. Apparently Eddie Carr was in Grounded for Life. I never watched that show. It's one of those lame Fox sitcoms. But I will say Sarah Schwab is probably my favorite actor from this show, because she was in 2 very good movies before Promised Land. The first one was A Home of Our Own. She was about 9 or 10, maybe 8 to 10 years old when that film was shot in Utah as well, same as Promised Land. Home of Our Own is a very good movie. It's with Kathy Bates, who's another really good actor, and it's about this working class poor family that moves from Los Angeles to Idaho, which is Utah in the movie, and they lost everything basically, and they have to rebuild their lives. And it's a drama, it's a tearjerker, but a very good movie, Home of Our Own. But the other movie that she was in was called Just Like Dad, and if you watch Disney Channel anytime in the mid-late 90s, that was like the only movie they aired most of the time. But it's a very good movie, filmed in Salt Lake City, same as Promised Land, but very good movie too. It's got Wallace Shawn in there too, and great movies. But the one thing about the guy who plays Josh right there, the teenage son on the end, Austin O'Brien, excuse me, that's his name. He was in one of those teen documentaries for Focus on the Family right about 98, 99, right when Promised Land was still on the air. We're getting ready to go off the air, unfortunately, but he did a lot of good work from Focus on the Family back then too, which is really cool. I think it was all about teen sex and abstinence, that sort of thing. But he really is not that famous, unfortunately. But I did actually reach out it's been a couple years now, to Sarah Schwab and Austin O'Brien. I friended them on Facebook, but unfortunately they never friended me back. I think Sarah Schwab has become a lot more liberal now. Growing up she was conservative. Now she's pretty liberal based on what I saw on her Facebook page. I think Austin O'Brien, though, is still pretty conservative. But okay. So yeah, it's about a family, and basically, let's see. Russell Green and his extended family, they travel across the country in search of adventure. After losing his job, Russell, his wife Claire, children, mother, and nephew pack up an old Suburban and trailer and live life on the road. Along the way, they help individuals and families alike. Very good guest stars. You have Ozzie Davis from Evening Shade on the show, Richard Thomas from The Waltons. That one's my favorite because, of course, The Waltons was the big family drama in the 70s, and now you have Promised Land, which was, at least in my opinion, the good big family drama of the 90s, even though Seventh Heaven ran for like 12 seasons and Promised Land only ran for 3. So, okay, so let's talk about the more of what the an analysis of the series, how it was in the ratings and that sort of thing, and how the TV landscape was at the time. Okay, and actually I'm reading this from off of the IMDb website. This is post is by Julie Rom 80112. It says, excellent show with a fantastic ensemble cast. She writes, as a fan of Touched by an Angel, I never missed an episode of its wonderful spin-off series, Promised Land. This program was just as good as Touched by an Angel and should have lasted more than 3 seasons. I so agree, Julie. So agree. The premise was solid and endearing. A poor family making ends meet by traveling the country in a trailer to promote wholesome moral values to each other and helping people they meet along the way. The ratings were actually quite good for television at the time. In its first season, they aired it on Tuesday nights where they were opposite Roseanne, which was in its last or second to last season then, and Mad About You, which was a huge hit at the time, Roseanne to a lesser extent. And let's see, and these two shows were just more depictions of the decaying moral compass of America. Promised Land held its own, finishing in the top 50, and was renewed for a second season. So top 50. If you really want to be successful in television and network TV, you want your show to get in the top 30. 30 to 50 is you're still pretty good, and you'll probably get renewed, which Promised Land did for a second season. But you really want to be in the top 30 to be classified as a hit. And there are a lot of shows, especially back in the 90s, that were right around top 50. Not even that got picked up for like 5 or 7 seasons, like Picket Fences and Boy Meets World. But okay, I'll continue. The bigwigs at CBS, it seemed, were not supportive of Promised Land and moved the show from Tuesday night to Thursday nights, opposite the insipid and again morally decaying Friends, which was then the number one show in America on NBC. However, Promised Land did even better in its second season and finished the season at number 35. And I actually looked at the ratings last night for the entire run in Promised Land, and the second season was really started hitting its stride. There were a lot of weeks it got to the top 30, and there was even one week it hit 21 was the highest it hit. But a lot of weeks it was in like 26, 28 in the ratings, so it was doing very good. Okay, so CBS reluctantly renewed it for a third season. But behind the scenes, there was a plot being hatched by Les Moonves, who was president of CBS and the powers that be. Now, Les Moonves, of course, the last year has been in the news for all the sexual harassment stuff going on. I'm not going to get into that. You know what's happening about that. But let's talk about the 90s and Les Moonves, okay? He became president of CBS, the whole company, not just the network, but CBS Entertainment in 1995, okay? So, fortunately, he didn't become president of CBS until April of 1998. So the show, it had 2 seasons where it was on the air before Moonves was running the CBS network, okay? So just keep that in mind, the timing here of this thing, okay? So the third season in September of 98, okay, remember Moonves got hired on in April of 98, so he's been on the job now for about 5 months, okay? The third season started off well, with ratings finishing in the top 20, building up from the previous season. Then CBS put its nefarious plot into action. They retooled the show by eliminating its wonderful premise, a Christian family on the road helping others. Their mission was destroyed, as they have had the family now settle down in Denver, and suddenly the Promised Land we all knew and loved began to be known as the LT Show, a character introduced as a gang member trying to reform his life. The next few episodes found Russell and the family living in a dilapidated house, with Russell finding a job as a police officer and Claire finding a job as a substitute teacher. Claire homeschooled her kids while on the road, something ahead of its time, as homeschooling has since become a lot more commonplace in the American society. So, after the first few episodes in Denver, CBS put the final phase of their wretched plan into action by putting the show on what they called temporary hiatus. This caused the ratings to fall because people not in the know thought that Promised Land had been canceled. It was off the air for about 2 months, and then they returned with plots that centered on LT and the new characters added. And Claire and the kids meaning Josh and Dinah and Nathaniel, were practically ignored because now they're focused on the LT character. We hardly saw Nathaniel and Hattie, and they had all but disappeared. Why did this happen? Well, Julie here, she says she happens to know a representative who worked on the show, that Les Moonves said he did not want a show about a family traveling around the country in a trailer. Was his solution any better? He ruined the show by eliminating, as I said, its unique and inspiring premise. The show never regained ground in the ratings race after the hiatus in season 3, because faithful viewers didn't know it was back on. Had the honchos at CBS not fooled with Martha Williamson's vision of a solid family show promoting true moral standards and values, and had left the family traveling across America, the series would probably have lasted a few more seasons. The suicidal plot by the network was a plan to sabotage the series, and they succeeded. Still, the series ended the season in 51st place. In the reason, respectable enough, but apparently not a high five for a 4th season. I was one of the many who was incensed at Moonves and CBS and wrote several letters, even before the show's official cancellation announcement. All for naught. The series ended with the promise unfulfilled. The reason for cancellation? The demographics for shows based on promoting good Christian values just weren't there. Ironically, Touched by an Angel was the most popular drama in America at the time. Needless to say, many Promised Land fans were deeply saddened because the show was unceremoniously canceled because CBS planned it all along. Let's see. And then it goes into... Okay. But there is good news now. Nearly 20 years after the show ended, VEI has released the entire series on DVD. You can buy it at Amazon, eBay, or the VEI website for a reasonable price of $39.99. I just received my set this morning and can't wait to begin watching the show that was unfairly treated, but diehard fans can now enjoy forever. Good always wins out in the end. Need I say that after Touched by an Angel was canceled in 2002? Again, a plot hatched by CBS by moving it to Saturday nights. Excuse me, by moving it from Sunday nights, where it held its lofty top 10 perch for 5 seasons, until they moved to Saturday nights back in, I believe it was 2001. This is she's kind of run-on sentences here, it looks like. But they did the same thing with Murder, She Wrote years earlier, where that program was a mainstay for 11 years. After Touched by an Angel left the air, I never watched CBS again. I no longer have cable, but have DVD collections of many programs that take me back to a time when TV was worth watching. I'm happy to say that Promised Land is now a mainstay at our home, where it will live for generations to come. So, let me kind of clean that up a little bit for you. I agree. I would say 90% of the reason why Promised Land was canceled was because of Les Moonves. I mean, it's obvious. He never liked the show. And decided to sabotage the show by turning it from Promised Land into another version of Seventh Heaven. But there's another theory I have. This is more of a lesser 10 to 20% theory, and here's the thing, okay? You have Touched by an Angel, okay? Touched by an Angel was on the air for 2 seasons before Promised Land was on the air, okay? It used to be on Saturday night. Used to air, the first 2 seasons were aired on Saturday nights and I think Wednesday nights at like 9 o'clock. They yeah, and the ratings were just trash. But then CBS, and by the way, Les Moonves was not president yet. Okay, he did not become president until April of '98. Okay, spring of '96, CBS decides, I forget who the president was, but remember, it was not Les Moonves. CBS moves Touched by an Angel to Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, right after 60 Minutes. And 60 Minutes has been dominating the ratings for like the last 30, 40 years. It's been on the air for 50 years now. So, and it's just a powerhouse at 7 o'clock on Sundays. And CBS, the year before they moved Touched by an Angel to 8 p.m. on Sundays, they aired sitcoms, and the ratings were garbage. But before that, from 84 until 95, for like 12 years, Murder, She Wrote was like a top 10 show in the ratings every single week. So guess what happened? Touched by an Angel began in 1996 and going until about 2000. Yeah, for like 4 straight years was at top 5 or top 10 in the Nielsen ratings every week. So along comes Promised Land. Okay, and again, remember, Promised Land and Touched by an Angel were both written, created by Martha Williamson. So Martha Williamson says, look, we're going to create a spinoff, okay, even before Touched by an Angel becomes a hit, because Touched by an Angel does not become a hit show until the fall of '96 when Promised Land comes on. So already, Martha Williamson is really hedging, almost jumping the gun a little bit. And then people think that Promised Land, okay, Touched by an Angel starts airing Sunday nights, 1996, fall of 96, gets its top 5, top 10 ratings every single week. Well, here's Promised Land, and they're doing about 30 to 40th place sometimes 30 to 50th place every week. So nowhere near where Touched by an Angel is. And then, so what happened, and I don't, what I think happened was the network went to, they went to Martha and said, listen, what do you think about moving the show to Thursday, 8 o'clock? They say, look, it's either that or we're going to cancel the show after 1 season. Sorry. Well, they say, okay, let's move to Thursday nights at 8, okay? The ratings get a little bit better, but remember, now Touched by an Angel in 1997, 1998 is in its second straight year of being a top 10 show on TV, and yet Promised Land went from a top 50 show only to a top 40 show. So it's a little bit of improvement in the ratings, but it's still not there. So then season 3 comes along, and they come back to Martha and they said, listen, you have a great show on Sunday nights, Touched by an Angel, now in its 3rd straight year of top 5 finish every week in the ratings. We like Promised Land too. We're trying to be patient with it, but listen, Martha, we have to retool the show now. They have to settle down in Denver, and let's go to more of a traditional family drama like Seventh Heaven. So Martha's like, okay, let's do it. And of course, the ratings, they actually go down. Now, instead of finishing like a top 35 show, it goes back to finishing like 45 or 50. And look, they say, well, ratings are down in the third season, so let's put the show on hiatus for 2 months and bring in something else. And then, they say, okay, well, let's go ahead and run the 9 more episodes to make it a 22 episode season and call it a day. So, what I think that, was there a way possibly that Promised Land could have gotten more than 3 seasons? I think so. But what needed to happen was you had Les Moonves, who was never supportive of Promised Land, was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But I will say, though, that maybe if they waited until like 98 to debut the show, maybe it could have a better run, maybe, because then you have Touched by an Angel is now its 3rd straight season of the top 5 show on TV. But still, so remember, Les Moonves is, messing with the show, but then you have the fact the ratings were never even the same area code as Touched by an Angel. And so one more thing I'll say. I'm going to change topics here a little bit now. The DVD set, okay? All of the episodes that were Promised Land are on the DVD set, as well as all the Touched by an Angel crossover episodes are in the box set too. When this show aired on PAX and GMC, the Touched by an Angel episodes were not in there, and I'm pretty sure I don't think that the Promised Land episodes were in any of the Touched by an Angel DVD sets either. So this is a really great find. The one thing that is not in, okay, there's no special features at all, but that could be because this show is only on the air for 3 seasons. And a lot of the kids have kind of grown up and gone elsewhere. But in season 2 of Promised Land, there was an episode called Total Security, and which is on this DVD set. There was an episode of Diagnosis Murder that aired right after Total Security. That was meant to be actually a crossover episode for Promised Land, and it's missing from this box set. However, I remember watching the episode and didn't like it. So not a big loss here. And plus, in the grand scheme of things, what happens is you have in Promised Land on the first hour, you have a family that's been reunited after being years apart. But then the second hour of this crossover special is all Diagnosis Murder. And you don't see mom, dad, Hattie Green or any other kids. It's basically, it turns into a the family's been reunited, but now they have to help a member of their family because she's in trouble with a con man, and that's what the Diagnosis Murder crossover thing is. So if you're not really into the whole crime procedural drama, then yeah, it's really not a big loss here. The cost of this is, it's going for only $39.99, which is a deal. But then if you get it off Amazon, you click a coupon at checkout for $4 off. So $35.99 for 3 seasons of television. I mean, think about it. It wasn't that long ago when you had to pay like $50 for 22 episodes, and now you pay $35, $40 for 3 whole seasons of television, which is like 50 cents an episode, which is great. So anyway, please, if you need something to watch for the whole family, and you have kids especially, you want them to watch something with you as a family, definitely pick this up. It's not available in stores, but you can get it on Amazon.com or the VEI website. So yeah, that's my spiel. And hey, for the Conservative Pelican, I'm Bobby Crawford. Thanks for watching.